Hello guys, welcome back again to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to draft a princess shoulder dart or shoulder bustier. And with me here I have a fresh pattern paper that I'm going to be using for all this drafting, and I just cut out a little piece that is going to be enough, and this is going to be for my front. So I'm just going to quickly share with you the measurement that we're working with. So the first thing I'm going to do, I will draw a straight horizontal line. So I'm going to draw an horizontal line here, which is going to be my starting point. Okay, just randomly, but make sure you have up to ½ inch here. And then from there, I will start taking my vertical measurement. Shoulder to bust point or shoulder to nipple is 10. Shoulder to under bust is 14.5. And shoulder to the waistline is 16 or half length. So I'm also going to transfer the same measurement on this side, just so I can have a perfectly straight line. Then I am going to go ahead and connect my point. All right, so just so we are in line, this line right here is my shoulder line. This is the bust line. This is the under bust line. Excuse this enemy of progress right here, the paper tearing up on me. Anyways, so this is my under bust line, while this is my waistline or half length. All right, so then I will transfer my shoulder to shoulder measurement. So the shoulder measurement is 14. I'll divide 14 by 2 to give me 7. So I'll mark 7 right here. So I'll keep that point and I'm just going to walk on the side right here. So next, I am going to take my nipple to nipple measurement. Nipple to nipple measurement is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Then I'll add ½ inch for joining, okay? For joining the darts. That's going to give me 4.5. I'll mark 4.5 on my bust line, and I'm also going to mark the same 4.5 on my waistline. Then I will connect those points together. So at this point I'm going to determine my neckline. Okay, it doesn't matter which step you take first. You can walk on here first or walk on here first. Okay, so then I'm just going as I feel like, and I'm going to take my neck width and I'm going to be using 4 inches. Okay, and the neck depth, I'm going to be using 5 inches. This person doesn't want it super low, you know, so that's why I'm keeping it at 5 inches for now. And I am going to connect it with 2 straight lines, just temporarily, okay? I'm going to be altering the shape later on in the video, okay? So now that I have my neckline point here and I have my shoulder point here, I'm going to find the midpoint of these 2 points. Now I have here 3 inches and the middle is going to be 1.5, right? And from that 1.5, I'll connect all the way to this point right here. Okay, I haven't done my shoulder slope here. Don't worry about that. We are going to be getting to that. So I'm going to already take my dart intakes and I will do my shoulder dart first. So for the shoulder dart, I want to use 1.5 in total. Okay, so I'm going to take ½ inch on this side and I will take 1 inch on this other side. So ½ inch goes here and 1 inch goes on this side. Then I'll connect both points to this apex right here. So now I want to get my shoulder slope, and in order to do that, the 1.5 inch that we added here for the dart, ½ inch here and 1 inch here, we have to return it. So that's 1.5 in total. So from this line, I will take 1.5 inch. That's 1.5 inch of the dart. I will return it. Ignore this point. Ignore this point totally. So I will take 1.5 inch. Just like that. And also we need 1 inch to join these darts together, ½ inch on this side and ½ inch on this side to join on our sewing machine. So I will add also that 1 inch right here. So this is my final point over here. Then that is where I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch of my shoulder slope. Okay, the regular shoulder slope we have on our basic bodice, come down by 1 inch now. Okay, so from this 1 inch, that's where I'm going to draw my line down for my armhole. And of course, you are going to join this point all the way to your neckline for the shoulder. Okay, I hope that is clear. So then I have to determine my armhole depth, and we know the formula for taking an armhole depth. The formula is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. In this case, mine equals 7.5 in total. That's 36 divided by 6 plus 1.5. And I'm going to mark that 7.5 right here because that's what I get. So from that point, I will draw out an horizontal line. Make sure your lines are straight. Okay, so there I have my armhole depth. So now I'm going to work on my dart intake over here. So for my dart intake to bring out the bust cup, I'm going to be using 2 inches because the chest measurement I'm working with is 36. So that's why 2 inches is perfect. And I'm going to take all 2 inches on one side, just like this. Okay, I'm also going to take it on this line just so I can get a straight line as well, because I'm going to be connecting this all the way up like this. Okay, and then from this point I'm going to be coming up by 1/2 inch, and that's just to ensure that the bust cup falls perfectly and is nicely relaxed and not pointy at all. So I'll connect to that point. I'll extend this line all the way to that point, and then from this point right here, I'm going to draw a curve. You can use your free hand if you don't have your tools, but I have mine, so I will use my tools to get my curve. All right, and we're almost done, guys. So we are going to start transferring our circumferences, and I'm going to be starting from my bust circumference, and I'm going to be placing the bust circumference on this armhole line that I just drew. I'm not going to be placing it on my bust line. You know this drill already. If you don't understand anything here, maybe you need to know your basic pattern. I have a video on that. Please check out the basic bodice pattern, well detailed and updated video that I made for you guys. So the bust circumference I'm working with is 36. Like I said, 36 divided by 4 gives me 9. Okay, my 9 stops right here, and then I will measure whatever I have here. So just kind of imagine that this line goes through where this line cuts through this dart. Measure what you have on that line, and for me I have about 1/4 of an inch, so I'll transfer that 1/4 of an inch from my 9 inches point that I just marked right here. I'll transfer that 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and from there I will add 1 inch to join this dart together, because we need 1/2 inch on both sides to join it, right? So I'll add that 1 inch to join the dart, and I'm also going to add my seam allowance. I want to have 1.5 inch seam allowance. You decide whatever seam allowance works for you. Okay, so I'll move to my waistline. I'm going to be placing my under bust circumference on the waistline, because at this point the under bust circumference of this person is almost the same as the waist circumference. So I'm going to just place the under bust circumference on my waistline. Okay, so my under bust circumference is 29. 29 divided by 4 gives me 7.25, and 7.25 is right here. And then remember, we used 2 inches for our dart, so we have to add that back. And then we also need 1 inch to join the dart. We add that back as well. And now finally your seam allowance. My seam allowance is 1.5. I'll add that as well. So yeah, then I'm going to connect these lines together. That's the most important line that you need to connect. All these other points you don't have to connect it, but I like to separate my seam allowance, so I'm just going to do that. Okay, then we are going to be working on the armhole just like we do on our basic bodies. We usually divide this line by 2, this line, right? So I'll divide it by 2. Just find the midpoint. My midpoint is somewhere here, and from that midpoint I like to come in by 1/2 inch. You can come in by 3/4 of an inch, it depends. If you're working with someone that is small, come in by 1/2 inch. If the person is big, come in by 0.75. okay, so from that point now is where you are going to be drawing your curve. So because we have a specific design on the neckline, so I'm going to be doing that right away. So from this neck depth that I had, I'm going to be taking 0.75 inch down. I have that point, 0.75 inch down is here, and from that I'm going to be drawing this line to join with this one, just to have a tiny V cut right there. So from this corner right here, I'll also come up by 1/2 inch, and then I'll connect this point now to this point with a smooth curve. And also here, I want this particular place to extend a little bit into the neck. So you just determine how much you want that to be. For me, I think I'm okay with 1 inch. But don't make it more than 1 inch at this point, unless your neckline was wide, very wide initially. You can just use 1/2 inch or 3/4, but I'm okay with 1 inch. Then from there, I'll connect to this corner as well with a gentle curve. So notice that our neckline has shifted up to this point. So that means we have to modify the shoulder slope. So I'm going to simply correct my shoulder slope to connect this point all the way to the neckline. So that concludes the front pattern, and this is what we have as the finished result of the front. I'll take this aside, bring in a fresh pattern paper so that I can work on my back as well. And before we move on, I'm just going to quickly talk about the sponsor of today's video. Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning platform where millions of creative minds like you and me come together to learn new things on different topics to become more creative. There are thousands of lessons on Skillshare, topics that covers illustration, fashion design, photography, or whether you want to learn video editing, video making, art, graphic design, or maybe you want to learn about YouTube, how to start your own YouTube channel and be successful. There are lessons on how to grow on Instagram, how to grow on social media. There are lessons on marketing, craft, productivity. Did I just say marketing? I'm sure that is communicating to someone already. This was actually what captivated me on Skillshare. I was taking a particular lesson by Gary. And guys, that lesson literally took me back to my drawing table because I was able to get valuable tips that can help me to grow my online business despite the competition that is going on today. You can apply the knowledge in your fashion business as well. What makes this difference is the fact that it's focused solely on learning. That means there are not going to be ads bothering you. Despite the numerous things you can learn on Skillshare, it is affordable. And guess what, guys? The first 1,000 people to use the link in the description box is going to get 1 month free trial to Skillshare. If I were you, I won't let this opportunity pass me by. So head on to the description box and grab yourself the free trial opportunity. So I have my horizontal lines for the back all drafted already, as you can see, because it's just the same as we did for the front. It's basically all the same line that we did for the front. Here is my zipper allowance. I use 1 inch. So I will explain all these points, okay? From my zipper allowance, I took my shoulder measurement, which is 7. My shoulder to shoulder is 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7, right there. And also, I took my neck depth, my neck width, okay? I took my neck width, the initial neck width, this blue line, which was 4 inches. And here is it right here, 4 inches. Okay, then I'll find the midpoint of these 2 points of this from here and here. This is the middle, okay, and that's where we're going to be connecting down to our bust line. But before we do that, we need to take our nipple to nipple measurement. Nipple to nipple measurement here is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Then I'm adding ½ inch to that for joining, and that gives me 4.5. That is my 4.5. I will also transfer the same 4.5 down here to get a straight line. This is very similar to what we did in front. So we connect the 2 points, and from this point we connect all the way up to the shoulder. So to get our neckline, I think we are done with this initial neckline of 4 inches point. Now we are done with this. So we are going to be transferring our final neck width, which for me, I have 3 inches here left, okay? So I'll be transferring that 3 inches here, from here, like this. And then use your neck depth, transfer the neck depth that you want. I'm using 1.5. So just go ahead and connect that as you wish. So I have that connected, and I am going to do my dart intakes. I want to use 1 inch in total for my dart here. So I will take ½ inch on both sides of this center line. ½ inch here and ½ inch here. I will connect both to this point. All right, so I want to get my armhole depth now. In order to do that, normally this was my shoulder point, and if this was a basic body, we're supposed to just drop down here by by 1 inch for our shoulder slope. But because we are having a dart that goes through here, we are going to be adding the dart joining allowance to that point before we come down. So from this point, I will be adding 1 inch joining allowance, ½ inch for both sides of this, and from there is where I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Okay, so from this shoulder slope now, I will connect all the way to my neck line, just like that. And then from here, I will also draw my armhole depth line. Okay, I have my armhole depth line drawn already, but just to know where the line is supposed to stop, I will be taking, you can just measure this line just to make our lives easier. And it gives me 7.5, so I'll just transfer it. So my 7.5 is here, and from there I'm going to go ahead and draw my horizontal line, which is where I'm going to be transferring my chest measurement or bust measurement. So yeah, starting to transfer my bust circumference now. Bust is 36 divided by 4 is 9. My 9 stops right here, and I need 1 inch when I join these dots together, so I'll add that 1 inch and it stops here. Then I'm also going to add my same 1.5 inch seam allowance, and here my waist measurement is 29 here, and when I divide 29 by 4, it's going to give me 7.25 point is right here. And then I will add this dart intake, which is 1 inch, another 1 inch to join them together, and finally my 1.5 inch seam allowance. So then I'll connect the last point together, and I'll also separate my seam allowance. Then just go ahead and draw your armhole curve. You don't have to step in here or anything for the back. So back in the days, this is where you stop, but want that perfect snatch of a fit, so we are going to be going extra step. I do this a lot if you've been watching my video, and we just want to eliminate those zipper bulge that we have. And in order to do that, this zipper allowance was straight, right? Now it's going to tilt a little bit in from the bottom, and in order to do that, I will step this in by ½ inch. You can use 3/4 of an inch depending on how curvy the person's back is, because some people's backbone is really arched. So if you have someone that has really curvy backbone, then you just use 0.75, but for me, I'm using half. Okay, and remember, this is a line as well, because this is my entire zipper allowance. So I will step this line, this edge of my paper, also in by ½ inch. So I have 2 points. So that means I will connect this one to this black line, and I'll connect this one to the edge of my paper. By the way, let me just extend this. All right, one more thing I'm going to do. Okay, of course you should add your sewing allowance for your shoulder. ½ inch is perfect. Okay, and we need ½ inch here for joining, right? I should have done that also for this one. So remember to add ½ inch for your front, the down part here, and also ½ inch for the shoulder. And yeah, for the seam allowance down here for the back is going to be a little different from that of the front, and this is what I'm going to do. I'll place that ½ inch seam allowance on the side seam right here, but for here I won't add any seam allowance on the center front, on the center back. So I'll just connect this point straight to this line without any seam allowance. So it's going to be slanted, and that's what we want to achieve. Good. So that's where we are eliminating those nonsense zipper bulge. So that completes this pattern tutorial. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, comment down below your thoughts. If you have any questions, let me know. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook at Dami Dimension, TikTok, everywhere Dami Dimension. And I hope I see you guys again in my next video. The sewing tutorial of this is going to be coming up. Make sure not to miss that. Bye.
Empty hearts and neon lights.